Hello everyone, my name is Vidhan Pandya and today I'm going to talk about Samudayak Astakavarga, which is also known as Sarvashtakavarga. Now Sarvashtakavarga is a part of Astakavarga, and basically what you do here is you add up all the Vinastakvarga values for each of the houses and each of the signs, and then you arrive at the Samudayak Astakavarga. So Samudayak Astakavarga is a very important concept, and it is something which is very important to understand the results of transit, and also it is also important for understanding the different aspects of the life also. Like you can give predictions both for transit as well as you can also give predictions based on the natal horoscope, right? So in this session, I'm going to discuss as much as 15 different techniques just related on Samudayak Astakavarga. So this is going to be a very interesting session, and what I want you to do is, if you have the app, just open the app with any chart, maybe your chart, and as we apply the technique, as we discuss the technique, I want you to apply the technique and give me the feedback, right? So again, I'm sure you all know where to find this Astakavarga module. Just in case you don't know, it is available. Like once you open the chart on the web app, or even on the mobile app, you'll be able to find it under Astakavarga. So under Astakavarga, Samudayak Astakavarga is available here, right? Now, let's look at some of the tools and techniques of Samudayak Astakavarga, and let's learn some of the rules. So the first rule is you have to look at the minimum required as Sarvashtakavarga or SAV points for each houses. So this is what Parashar Rishi has given, and what he has given, Rishi is given is the minimum values or minimum number of points for each of the houses. Now the houses which have less number of points or more number of points than the required number of points, those houses will have little bit of a challenge. So you have to make sure that the houses which have less than minimum number of points, they will suffer. Those houses will not give you good results. That's what this rule says. So we have to make sure that how do we compare, like which house has how many points and which houses are getting less than minimum score for each of the house, right? So for this we have, you can always go to this Samudayak Astakavarga page, and here on this Samudayak Astakavarga page, you will find houses with less than required minimum score. So here on this particular chart, it is telling me that third house has less than required minimum score, sixth house has less than required minimum score, 10th and 11th house also has less than required minimum score, which means these four houses may not be as strong as the other houses, just on the basis of Samudayak Astakavarga. Again, there are multiple parameters, but again, these are some things that we need to keep in mind while we analyze the chart. This is the rule number 1. Any questions before I move on to the next rule? Okay.
No, go ahead.
Perfect. Now, second one here is rule number 2. Here, what it says is we need to do the summation of Sarvashtakavarga points for houses which are first house, fifth house, ninth house, fourth house, seventh house, and 10th house. So these are the 6 houses. And then you have to also calculate the sum of Sarvashtakavarga for all the remaining houses. So 6 houses, which is 159, all the Kendra houses and all the Trikona houses, and then all the other houses, right? So if you do the sum for these two, and if you find out and in a chart, if the sum of Sarvashtakavarga for the first set is more, that means the native is spiritual and has many virtues. If the second set of houses have the sum which is more greater than the first set, then the native is more materialistic or money minded, right? So very simple rule. You have 12 houses in the chart. You take the Sarvashtakavarga for all the Kendra and Trikona houses on one side and all the remaining houses on the another side, and just compare the Sarvashtakavarga values for these two groups. If the first group has more values, then native is spiritual, has many virtues. If the second group has more points, then native is more materialistic or more money minded. Right? So here also in the app you will find that the first point under Sarvashtakavarga is where you will find that this calculation is being done, and based on that you have the predictions which are written here. It is like a snapshot technique. You can look at any chart. If the difference between these two groups is significant, then you can easily conclude like what kind of person this person is, what kind of nature this person has. Let's go to rule number 3. So rule number 3 says you take the sum of Sarvashtakavarga points in the house 6, 8 and 12. If the sum total is 80, less than 80, then less troubles. If the sum total is 80 or more, then more troubles in life. This is just on the basis of Sarvashtakavarga points in 6th house, 8th house and 12th house. All the trick houses. 6th, 8th and 12th house, as we know, these are trick houses. So if the sum is less than 80, less troubles. If the sum is more than 80, more troubles. Simple rule. Sarvashtakavarga, this whole system of Astakavarga was discussed in Brahad Parashar Hora Shastra, and Shaunak Rishi is asking Parashar Rishi is asking with Shaunak Rishi, which is the guru of Parashar Rishi, and he is saying that he is requesting humbly, like the teacher, he is addressing to Shaunak Rishi, and he is saying that you have given so many complicated rules to me, and these methods are too complex. Give me a method which is easy to remember and to be applied. And this is where Shaunak Rishi goes on to describe the whole system of Astakavarga. And he also in that discussion, in that dialogue, there is also a discussion of like in the Kali Yuga, people will not have that much of intelligence. So what the people will Kali Yuga do? I mean, then Sonakiji says this is the wonderful system of prediction. This is very simple and easy to use system of prediction. And once you know how to use the system, you can easily be able to give predictions with more confidence and more accuracy. Very simple rule. Trick houses, take the Sarvashtakavarga bindus, less than 80, less troubles, more than 80, more troubles. And you can check with your chart, your neighbor's chart, and let me know, I mean, if you have any feedback. If you feel this is working, not working, either ways, you can tell me. Okay, moving on. Now, this is about income and expenditure. So you take the Sarvashtakavarga points of 11th house, and you also take the Sarvashtakavarga point of 12th house. 11th house is the house of income, we all know, and 12th house is the house of expenditure. Now, if you compare the points between 11th house and the 12th house, if 11th house has more points than the 12th house, that means higher the income, more the savings for this person. But if the 12th house has more points than the 11th house, then we can say that person has higher expenditure. Person will not be able to save much because of higher expenditure. Again, very simple, very straightforward rule. You just have to compare two houses, 11th house and 12th house. And this rule also you'll be able to find in the app. This is native as higher income than the expenditure. Again, predictions based on SAV of 11th house and 12th house. You don't have to do any calculation. You can just look at 37 here in the 11th house, 17 here in the 12th house. So we know income is higher than the expenditure. Now, we compared 11th house and the 12th house. Now, let's talk about 10th house and the 11th house. So, 10th house is your effort, 11th house is your gain. So, if you have to see, like, if the person is doing, if a person has to do more efforts, or if the gains will be higher or the efforts will be higher. So, again, you can easily compare like 10th house SAV and 11th house SAV. So, if 10th house SAV is more, that means effort is higher. Person has to work harder than his peers to get the same amount of earning. But if the 11th house has higher SAVs, then we know that the person less effort, higher gain. So again, very simple rule. Just you just have to compare like the SAV points of 10th house and the 11th house. And again, in the app, you will find those predictions also. Gain will be equal to or more than the effort put in based on the SAV of 11th house and the 10th house. Simple. So you have 37 points here in the 11th house, whereas 33 points in the 10th house, which means gains are higher than the efforts. The person gets easy success, quick success. That is what we can deduce from this point, this sutra. Now then comes the concept of Bandhu, Sevak, Poshak and Ghatak. Again, no complicated calculations here. You just have to add up the Sarvashtakavarga points for ascendant, 5th house, 9th house. That will give you the score for Bandhu. Bandhu is who will help you. It is the divine help, or the basically the fruits of the positive results of your past karmas. Then SAV of second house, 6th house, and 10th house is your Sevak. 6th house, we always know that 6th house is always related to maids or the people who are working under you. So that is why the concept of Sevak is coming in the Earth Trikon. And then in the Kam Trikon, we have Poshak, the people who will nourish you, people who will help you. And then the 4th is your Moksha Trikon houses, which is Ghatak. Right? So you have to calculate all the values for these 4 Trikons, which is Bandhu, Sevak, Poshak, Ghatak, which is also Dharma Trikon, Earth Trikon, Kam Trikon, and Moksha Trikon. Right? So based on the values of these 4 points, if Poshak and Ghatak, between Poshak and Ghatak, you have to compare. If the Poshak has more points as compared to Ghatak, then the person is wealthy. Now, Poshak is your 3, 7, and 11, which means houses related to earnings. Right? And then you have Poshak and Ghatak. Ghatak is your 12th house of expenditure. So Poshak and Ghatak, income and expenditure. So if the income is more, the person will be wealthy. But if the Ghatak is more, then person will be poor. Simple rule. Similarly, between Bandhu and Sevak also there is a rule. So if Bandhu group has more points, which means you have more support from others, that means you will be able to independently find the sources of income. You'll be able to gain income through independent means. Whereas if Sevak has more points, that means a person may have to do job or maybe in the service industry, because this person has to serve, because Sevak has more points, right? Sevak is nothing but your Earth of the account, which is 2nd house, 6th house, and 10th house. If Sevak group has more points, that means the person will have to serve others. That is what rule number 7 says. If Bandhu has more points, which means person will be able to flourish in the business, because here we are talking about Kam Trikon. The 3, 7th, and 11th house is what Bandhu Trikon, Bandhu indicates, right? So 7th house is the house of business, whereas 2, 10, and 6th house, or the Earth Trikon house, is the 6th house is the house of service and job. So basically, if you're basically comparing, like, okay, seventh house is more stronger versus sixth house is more stronger, you'll be able to understand which profession or which way of life is more suitable for the person, whether it is business or whether it is job. So that is what we can understand from this rule number 7. And again, in the app, you will find the values for all these groups. So you can see Bandhu, Sevak, Poshak, Ghatak, what are the values and what is the meaning also you'll be able to find. Like person will be wealthy, and then person has to serve, right? So Bandhu and Sevak, right? So again, based on this comparison, based on these rules, you'll be able to understand what is the kind of earning will be there, whether the person will be wealthy or not. So very simple rule, but all the calculation is included here in the app. Let's go to the rule number 8. So here rule number 8 is what we are doing here is we are dividing the horoscope into the 4 sides. Again, we know that ascendant is generally seen from the ascendant means eastern side. The 7th house is seen for the west direction, and 4th house is north direction, and 10th house is your south direction. So based on that, you've also taken the adjacent houses, which means the 12th house and the 2nd house is also considered as in the eastern direction, and north house, 3rd house, 4th house, and 5th house is considered as the north house. So any planet in these 3 houses will be considered in the north side, or they will indicate the north side. Similarly for west and the south directions also. Now, based on this, you will be able to find a lot of important things. Second lord, you have to see in which direction second lord has gone. So based on the direction of the second lord, you'll be able to understand from where the wealth of the person may be coming. Eighth lord, eighth house is to do with the death, right? So the direction of the 8th lord will tell us like from where the death will happen for this particular person. Again, there are other factors also, but these are like simple rules which are given in the Astakavarga, in the books related to Astakavarga. So here also, it's a very simple rule. Now, we will come to the Astakavarga Bindus of specific houses or specific planets, right? So now the next set of rules will be related to a specific set of houses and the planets. So rule number 9 says the native will get royal vehicle, wealth, sun, great knowledge, etc. after the age represented by the Bindus in the ascendant, right? Which means let's go back to this chart, example chart. So Bindus in the ascendant is 25, right? So after the age of 25, in the 25th running year or after the age of 25, this person will get results like royal vehicle, wealth, sun, great knowledge, etc. after this age. Because ascendant, these numbers represent the age. The Sarvashtakavarga Bindus, these numbers also represent the age. These numbers have a lot of meaning to them, and at different times, at the 25th year of age, like ascendant will get activated. So all the positive results of ascendant, which is getting wealth, getting royal vehicle, getting great knowledge, etc., will be seen by the native. When I've applied this rule has been found to be working in many different charts. And again, you can open up your charts to see whether this works on your chart. So the next one is the Sarvashtakavarga Bindus, where the Mars is sitting. So you have to take the house where the Mars is sitting, and you have to see how many number of Bindus are there in that particular house. So you have to also see chart, right? Or we can look at like Mars is sitting in the. Let's go to the chart. So if you notice, Mars is sitting in the fifth house, which means and at the same age, right? At the age of 25, the person may have possibility of getting injury, right? Uh, Injury or accident may happen in the age of 25 for this particular native. So take maybe. This is a chart of Arvind Kejriwal. Arvind Kejriwal has Mars in the third house. So we have to see Sarvashtakavarga points in the third house. Third house has 28 points, which means at the age of 28, running year, we are talking about running year here. So at the age of 28, he has a possibility of getting some kind of injury, some kind of accident, some kind of injury. So that again, we don't. We have to go look at the facts to see whether this has happened in his life or not. Again, 28 is the same number that you will find in the third house also, and also in the 12th house. So which means, yeah, 28 could have been a very challenging year for him. Again, I don't have the details right now, but if you can check and comment like whether something happened or not, that will be really appreciated. Then this is the rule number 11th is related with Saturn. So Saturn rule says sickness, sorrow at the age represented by Bindus of Saturn, which means we have to see which house Saturn is placed and what is the SAV total Bindus uh, in the Sarvashtakavarga for that particular house. So that will give us in which age we will have sorrow, sickness, and all these things. So Saturn is in the 12th house. 12th house, as we saw, it has 28 Bindus, right? So which means at the age of 28, both Mars and Saturn both are activated. I have very good feeling that it must have been a very challenging year for Arvind Kejriwal. Um, this 28th year is between 95 and 96, August of 25, August of 95 and 96. So he joined IRS at the age of 1995, and he got married also in the same year, 95. Again, we don't know the exact date, but somewhere around 95, he got married. So here, two positive events is what we have seen. But again, we don't have the exact date, so we don't know whether this is on the first half of 95 versus the later part of the 95. In 96, if we have anything. There is no event on 96. Yeah. So again, we don't have too much details about him. But anyways, that's how I mean we can apply this technique. I'm sure. Yeah, a lot of times we don't have much details for these celebrities. But again, if you have any personal charts which you can refer, you'll be able to see how this rule beautifully applies.
Can you once again explain, please, repeat please. Last.
Yeah, Amit bhai?
लास्ट अभी जो किया ना सेटन वाला जरा कैन यू एक्सप्लेन रिपीट करता है प्लीज.
Yeah. So what we have to do here is we have to see number of Sarvastakvarga Bindus of the house occupied by Saturn. So here we can see Saturn is in the 12th house, right? This
Hmm.
is chart of Arvind Kejriwal. Saturn is in the 12th house.
So
So we have to see how many points, how many Sarvastakvarga Bindus are there in the 12th house. So 12th house has 28 Sarvastakvarga Bindus, which means at the age of 28, both Mars is getting activated and both Saturn is getting activated. So that's why I was saying 28 must have been a tough year for him. I'm sure there are something he must have felt during those times. We don't have the details here on the Wikipedia, but I have a feeling that he must have gone through some troubles during that time. And likewise, you can check for your chart or your neighbor's chart to see if that rule is working. Like Saturn, look for the house in which Saturn is placed.
that means Saturn is whichever house Saturn is, that you have to count, right?
Correct.
Okay.
You have to see the Sarvastakvarga points in the house
Right.
occupied by the Saturn, and that is going
Okay.
to be the age when the Saturn will get activated, and it will give the results. And the results generally
Because I,
Saturn.
because I have checked in my horoscope. That's why I'm telling you. I have second house Saturn.
Hmm,
That is 26 point.
okay.
As I recollect, I changed the. I am in the stock market business, शेयर बाजार में. तो I 97 98 के करीब में 62 born हो तो 97 98 के करीब I changed the firm belongs to in India Motilal Oswal. I joined Motilal Oswal. तो change in a profession of business partner में मेरा change आया था 26. That is absolutely right.
Right. So see again, it is Saturn, right? Saturn is to do with the profession also, and Saturn is in the second house, which means the profession is related to the money.
Right. Absolutely right.
Yeah. So likewise, you'll be able to see, and again, I've seen it in many charts. Even on my chart, I know it does work. So I know these rules are definitely working.
No, excellent. This is excellent working.
Yeah. And likewise, Jupiter will see the house in which Jupiter is placed and number of Sarvastakvarga points, and that will represent the age in which Jupiter will get activated. So Jupiter, when Jupiter, again, natural karakatva of Jupiter is the children, wealth, and respect, and health, and well-being, luck, and government, and religion, and so on and so forth, right? So these karakatvas will come into play during that particular age. So if we go back to this Arvind Kejriwal chart, Jupiter is in the fourth house. So we have to see number of points, number of Sarvastakvarga Bindus in the fourth house. So 26. So 26 must have been a good year for him. And 26 is also the year, again, if you pay attention to his chart, he has Venus also, Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter, all three planets in the fourth house, which means at the age of 26, all these three planets will get activated. So all these three planets are Naisargic um, benefic planets, right? So this must have been a very, very good period for him. Yeah, even the sun is like sun has gone 12th, but again, third house sun not so bad. So I'm sure this must have been like a good year. Again, we don't know the details, but in general, this is how you will see, and this is how you will apply this rule. It's come back to, so this is on Jupiter. So we saw Mars, we saw ascendant, we saw Mars, we saw Saturn, we saw Jupiter, and now we will see Venus. So wherever Venus is sitting, it will get results based on the number of SAV points in the house occupied by the Venus. So again, Venus is also there. We saw Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter. All the three planets are sitting in the fourth house, and they will give the result in the 26th year for Arvind Kejriwal. So this is where you will see. So I'm sure something around that time, he had a lot of positive events happening in his life. Then Mercury. Same thing for Mercury. So again, we will apply the same rule for Mercury. So we know that Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus, all the three planets are sitting in the fourth house, which has got 26 points. So in the age of 26, he will have received a lot of intellectual expansion and praise from the scholars, learning of science and so many things which are related to Mercury in this particular year. So 26 must have been a very, very good year for Mr. Arvind Kejriwal. Okay. So this is what we can deduce from the planets and the house and the number of points um, given or assigned to the houses in which the planets are sitting, right? Now we will see, this is the last rule, right? And this one is about how do you see the different stages of the life of a person. We know if we divide the life of a person, let's say 75 years is the average lifespan of a person. So we can divide the age of the person 75 years into three stages, which is your early age, middle age, and the old age, right? So if you sum up the points of the Kendra houses, then you will be able to see the status of the native in the early ages. Now, if you sum up the points in the Funford houses, that will tell you like the situation of the native during the Middle Ages. And if you sum up the SAV points for Apocalypse houses, that will give you indication about how the life of the person will be during the old age, right? So let me go back to the same example. So here Kendra houses represent early age, Panfada middle age, and then Apocalypse old age. So if you see here, not much of a difference is there between these three stages of his life. But in the charts where this number is, if this number is, if the number is like very different, like if there are differences between the numbers is very high, then you will say, okay, which part of the life was good for him. So higher the number of points in a particular life age, we can say that this age must have been good for him. If somebody has got less points in the middle age, which means the middle age may not be as good as the other stages of the life of this native. So this is how we can kind of see, like in a snapshot, like what age will be more prosperous or more successful for that particular native. So again, very, very snapshot method of identifying like what stage of the life will be good and what stage of the life will be challenging for a individual. Okay, so these are the 15 techniques which I have covered in today's session.
One question is there, Done.
Yes.
In the first slides, you show us the 3, 6, 10, and 11. Like, तुमने अभी दिखाया था. 3, 6, 10, and 11. You just open the chart now. You project chart खुला था.
3, 6, 10,
ये
and
chart
11.
हाँ तूने नीचे नीचे दिख रहा था तो what does that mean? अभी तूने जो दिखाया था उसमें अभी एक वो चार्ट खुला था हाँ उसमें go to that chart. So it's the एकदम first column. Here,
Oh,
but
okay.
here, yeah. What how to what see and how to count that?
Yes. So basically,
How to analyze that?
this is the first rule, right? So first rule says that there is a minimum number of Sarvashtakavarga point which is assigned to each house. So what the
Right.
rule says is that first house minimum 25 points should be there. If the number
Right.
of points is less than 25, that means your first house is not as strong as compared to the other houses.
Okay.
So here what we are doing is like third house. So the minimum number of points that that are recommended for third house is less than the minimum number of points, right? So that's why we will
Okay.
say that the third house is comparatively weaker.
Okay. And just you just now mentioned ascendant 25 degree, 25 point. How to what are the same 25 point applicable to all the houses, or there are difference in
So, like this
yeah.
is the
So
chart of Arvind Kejriwal.
Abhi just told me that 25 point minimum is the first indication.
Correct, correct.
First of the so उसमें what is the many parameter के this which is minimum, this will be the point to consider this is the strong or weak house.
Correct. So the first house recommended number of points is 25.
Oh,
Second
okay,
house
okay,
22.
okay, got it. Thanks, thanks. I now understand. I understand. Also, this way we have to count it, which is weekend. So if suppose second house is below 21, then it's a weak house, right?
Correct.
Okay, now I got it. Thanks, buddy.
Relatively weak.
Can you wait for a minute? मैं लिख लूँ जरा, please.
Sure.
इसमें एज ये लिख लेता हूँ मैं. Point 25, 22, 29, 24, 25, 24, 19, 24, 29, 36, 5, 4, 4, 6. Okay, thanks.
Perfect. Shikharji, any questions, comments, any?
It's excellent. जस्ट जुपिटर का मेरा कल ही नहीं हो रहा है अभी. आई हैव टू सी. मेरे को याद नहीं आ रहा है वो इवेंट पे. पर वेनस का मैंने जैसे तेरे को सेटन का बोला था, विनस का भी मेरा टैली हो रहा है. विनस में जो पॉइंट है मेरा 4,000 कनेक्ट है. तो आई थिंक आई टेक एट दैट टाइम एस्टीम आया था मारुति का. फर्स्ट बिग कार लॉन्च बाय मारुति.
इसमें है ना
एस्टीम
सेम थिंग
फोर
अप्लाइज फॉर राहु
थाउजेंड.
केतु आल्सो. So राहु
मैं
केतु
दैट आई
के
वांटेड टू आस्क यू, राहु केतु का कैसे काउंट करें?
सेम. तो राहु केतु जो भी साइन के अंदर है उसके आप यू हैव टू सी विच हाउस राहु केतु इज सिटिंग एंड यू हैव टू सी हाउ मेनी Sarvastak Varga points have been given to that particular house. So, for example, in my chart, Rahu Ketu, Rahu is in the Rahu Ketu is in the house which has got 42 points. So, at the age of 42, Rahu will get activated.
Okay.
Yeah, and if we see this Arvind Kejriwal chart, so he has Rahu in the 11th house. So now we have to see 11th house again, 25. So 25th year, Rahu is going to get activated and it will give him some results. And 11th house, friends, 11th house is the earning. So earning probably will start around that time, or he will have, yeah, probably he will have some kind of achievement because 11th house is a fulfillment of desire and also the achievement. So something here, something definitely will happen around this age.
It's a very nice session, Vidhan Pandya ji. There is only one question for regarding house number 1. The house number 1 has, say, 45 points, and his success will come at 48, 45 age. That's a contradictory because other houses have less points, and it doesn't support. So maybe the person was selfish in the past life.
Correct. So see, having 44 points in the ascendant means ascendant is relatively stronger than the other houses, which means person is more about self development. He is more about keeping taking care of his own self more than focusing on the other areas of his life, right? Self-centered, you can also say the person is also determined what he wants to do and in which area. I mean, they are very strong opinionated person, and they know what to do. They generally do not want to be told like what they should do. So in a and whatever, and other thing is, whenever the transiting planets go through the first house, they will give him good results.
Right.
So transit is another aspect to all of this Astakavarga. And again, if you go to transit section, it will tell you the results of transit also. Again, transit is not today's topic, but again, here you will be able to understand like, okay, transit Astakavarga on this day, 5th of October 2024, transit Astakavarga, and this is based on the Vidhanpandya, and then you have you can see what planets are giving good results to this particular native. So in that way, I mean, there is a lot about Astakavarga. I mean, today I was not trying to. Nobody can cover Astakavarga in like 30 minutes, 40-minute session.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. All right. So that's all I have for this session. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks a lot. Then. Bye.
Excellent. Vidhan, excellent report. Keep it up.
Thank you.
All the best.